4, West Bath, Tuesday, March 7. I will call to order. Darlene Esbrook, Chair. Gentlemen of the Planning Board would introduce themselves, please.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Okay. I'm Jim Williams.
Gabe Whitney.
Jerry Mitchell. Jamie Wallace.
And because we have 5, we only need 3 for a quorum, so we have a quorum. So the only thing on the workshop agenda is to discuss updates to the Land Use Ordinance to address the LD 2003 housing density rules. And I think before we get into that, Carly was nice enough to make maps for us. We have 2 separate maps here. One comes out of the 2005 comprehensive plan, which shows on it what they're considering growth areas in the comp plan, what the state considers growth areas in the comp plan, which have like the blue horizontal hatching, and then that transitional area, which is like the red horizontal hatching. The difference between this map and our actual zoning now is that above State Road, which is the pink east-west line, the yellow residential and the green rural residential in between the State Road and the highway is all now commercial, business and commercial. So if you look at your other map, you can see there's instead of.
So this area,
Yeah.
this area all in here. This is
Right.
current, right?
It is.
So here's the US Route 1.
Yeah.
Here's old Route 1 State Road.
Yeah.
And so this just doesn't show this area in here. That was a zoning, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I guess maybe even more than that. But yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Not long.
This says amended 2016, so maybe that's the.
Right. So that's the only difference. And the reason this is important is that all those hatched areas are considered growth areas, which are the areas where the state is saying that LD 2003 applies, based on what Max told us the last time we were here. And that's why I asked Carly to have the maps.
So just the blue heavy crosshatched
Yes.
is the growth area that would be affected by the density.
Yes, the transitional area does not.
Oh, really?
So,
Yeah.
so can we say that the transitional area is not there?
Right, so the transitional area there was laid out in the comp plan. The comp plan is being redone now, and we are removing the transitional area. It's supposed to be sort of like a mixed-use transitional to have special zoning, and it was put into the comp plan, and then after it was put into the comp plan that the town wanted it to be a new zone, there just never was a new zone created, if that makes any sense.
So they're just gonna get rid of it?
Yes, it's gonna disappear in the comp plan. Well, as that's what the committee is proposing. The town has to vote on it and approve it, so it's not up to the committee itself. The town votes and passes it just like any other ordinance. But that's the difference. So I think our discussion, just ignore the red slashed and focus on the blue slashed area.
But the LD 2003 will affect all residential lots, correct?
No.
Because of the,
Yes.
additional dwelling unit.
Yes, it was the, what was it he said? It was the, right. I forget the term.
Yeah.
For my stuff. There was a certain one,
There's 3 sections.
there's 3 different sections,
Yeah,
yes.
there's 3
So,
sections to the law.
where is it?
And I guess that needs
We'll need this.
these copies too. Anybody needs extra copies?
Right, it was the affordable housing density is only in the growth area. So the section 2 that was affordable housing density, that density only applies to the growth areas, which in town are the business and commercial and the urban development park.
Okay, that
if I'm
is,
understanding and have notes correct from what Max had said last time.
okay, so on the,
Mm-hmm.
in the law,
Right, and
under
then
section,
section 2, which was the affordable housing density,
okay,
are you looking at the,
yeah, on page 2
rulemaking
of the,
proposal?
no, I was actually looking at the other.
oh, yeah, I think this rulemaking proposal actually supersedes the act itself, because it was language to incorporate the act. And this was the document that he said we should use to try to put language into the ordinance. I don't know if you guys have.
Okay, so under section 1, in the agency rulemaking proposal,
Yeah,
it's, under A, section 1, paragraph A, purpose, and, paragraph 2.
right, those are all the definition and the purpose. If you go to section 2, which is, these pages are numbered, if you go to page 4, page 4, it's section 2, it says affordable housing density.
Okay,
I put in there that affordable housing density is only in business and commercial, and what is shown on the comp plan is growth. So business commercial is the urban development part, and then the mobile home park, which is actually on top of the business and commercial, so it's not a separate place. That's what I have in my notes anyway.
okay, so,
Is that just the eligibility for the density bonus though?
Right,
Being in the growth area?
right, for the affordable housing density change. So,
Yeah.
and I think I emailed back and forth with Max today, because, remember, he came and we talked about this, and then he said he was gonna go through our ordinance
Mm-hmm.
and flag places where we needed to change things. So I just asked him today if he'd had a chance, and I knew he wouldn't have, because he's really thick in the comp plan right now. So he's gonna try to get to it soon. I just really wanted to find out from him if he'd gotten anywhere with it. And
he hasn't.
he hasn't, no, and it's fine, and I expected that because of the comp plan, he's trying
Oh.
to work on that too. So, I think without having that, our best bet is to work on these definitions, because those are completely separate than all of the other tweaks that need to go happen in the ordinance.
Sure.
And
That
then
makes sense.
we can be productive with that, and then once he has gone through and flagged the ordinance, then we can sort of tackle those pieces individually and see how we do. An update actually on what's going on is that Carly reached out, and there are actually two different bills out there in the legislature. One, to paraphrase, one is to put a 2-year moratorium on this, and then the other one was to have it only apply to towns or cities that had over 10,000 people.
LD 665
Okay,
it extends it by 2 years.
all right,
And that was sponsored by Allison Hepler,
okay,
as a representative. And I started with that email that Carmen sent out. And I think you reached out too, Gabe,
I
too.
did, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So it looks like there are two different things out there that may or may not happen that will make it so that we do not have to incorporate this.
so 214, LD 214 is, puts it over, as you said, over
I think it
10,000.
was 10,000, right?
So,
Some number much bigger than we have for,
yeah, how big is Bar?
I don't know.
I think it used to be 11,000, wasn't it? Does that sound right?
So I was wondering, so it does, that would put it over all the towns within Representative Hepler's area.
Okay,
So,
That is 8,700 according to the census.
so I emailed back and forth with her today, and there's no change since Carter's email.
right.
They just know that these are proposed, they're before 2 separate committees.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that they both pass, and if they do, there's gonna be a conflict of dates, of course. But
Right,
that's not our problem.
Right, yeah, and I think it's probably prudent for us to try to move forward regardless, because you don't know if they will pass or not. But we can
Yeah,
take a vote to that. The only other information that I have is that when I spoke to Max, he went to the hearing the other day, the state hearing.
Where you had to pose all those questions.
Yeah, where he posed the questions and lots of people were there
what was the hearing?
testifying. It was in front of the state it was a hearing on this proposal,
Okay, on the rulemaking.
on the rulemaking. So he said that most everyone, or almost everyone, was saying that they need more time, that it's too soon and they need more time. So he said whether something happens, comes of that or not, he's not sure. We'll have to wait. But that was basically what happened, is everyone's like, it is too soon, we're not ready for this, we need more time.
Well, Allison seemed to think there was a lot of support for this, which one is it, the 665, which extends by 2 years. There's widespread, she said, her comment was, she didn't have enough room for people to co-sponsor it.
Right.
There were so many people that wanted to pile on to that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, so it kind of looks like, you know, that might go. It extended by 2
Right.
years.
Yeah.
The other one, which exempts town under 10,000, I think it's gonna be a more difficult argument before the committee, and it's a different committee. So that will be interesting.
yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if the board wants to discuss the options of waiting and seeing, or moving forward regardless, based on the
Until that
information.
March
Fine.
13th date.
I think what's gonna happen is, I mean, it will happen really quickly, but it may not happen in the legislature until the last minute.
Right,
They tend to wait until the last minute on a lot of things.
right.
So, I think that, you know, I think we should progress and move ahead some, but perhaps try and not spend money on attorney's fees or something, you know, be a little conservative on that,
Right.
and on that piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, our town meeting is May,
16th.
so, I mean, I just, you know, I don't know if we can make it anyway. I mean, that's, how many days apart away is that?
Not many.
So,
But the ordinance are probably, the whole ordinance review is probably gonna be a separate town meeting.
Right, so they're already talking about the comp plan being a totally separate town meeting, and so the ordinances could be a separate town meeting. We just have to have something in place before July 1st, if this does not get pushed off 2 years or decided that it's for towns 10,000 and over.
There must be some sort of protocol, if you don't have something in place, it automatically goes in place, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in place. It's in place, period, July 1st. So if we're not ready, we're not ready. Unless they
So like the
vote
maximum,
between
the
now
maximum
and
size
then,
you need.
unless they vote between now and then to change it. So, I mean, I'm with Jim. I think we push forward with, you know, it won't go to the lawyer to have it checked until it's done. It's really probably our time and whatever we need from Max to help us. So, what
So
do you
we had-
guys think?
excuse me, we had some questions about moratorium and senior housing and so forth. Do we know any more? about
Max
that?
said that we can't do that.
We can't do a moratorium?
No,
Okay,
it's state mandated, and I don't, there's nothing in here that talks about senior housing exclusions or inclusions, and, I think we'll be hard pressed to make this work without trying to complicate it with senior housing provisions too, myself, but. Harley?
So at the last workshop, Max had said to reach out to Sally Daggett about the moratorium, which Christine did, and Sally, of course, confirmed that we can't. And Christine asked Sally about the 2 amendments to the legislature, and Sally highly recommended that we move forward and plan for it to be in place July 1st. So to your, I mean, both of you were saying move forward, which seems to be the general.
It's good to know, thank you.
advice. Yeah.
Well, and as a standalone ordinance
Mm-hmm.
versus all of our ordinances, it is something that in theory, time-wise, because we have 90% of the boundaries that we are required to do, we're putting in maybe our size elements or things that we want to incorporate as a town. That one ordinance, based upon timing, may actually be able to be implemented at the May meeting.
Right, but I don't think it's a standalone anything because it affects a bunch of language inside this book. So this language may be standalone, but if we were just stick this in here, it's gonna conflict with what's in here. And that's what Max is going through and looking and flagging those areas for us, so we can make it consistent and change that. So it's gonna be a lot. But I think we can do it, it's just.
I mean, if it's, change it in like adding in definitions.
Right.
Those are also tentatively easily acceptable additions. And altering, updating
Sometimes, yeah,
language.
yeah.
It's versus rewriting the entire book at one time and having,
Right.
and we have a deadline, in theory.
I agree, so,
So I think there was some important ones we identified the other day, right? Like the size, right, of the accessory dwelling, right?
wait, can we decide whether we're gonna decide on moving forward or not moving forward first?
Yeah,
And then we can do our thing, because I don't, it's not just me, it's all 5 of us,
Right.
so.
I mean, I think it makes sense to move forward. It's not, I don't think it's really anything wasted, it may get tabled for a while, but it's better to be prepared than not.
Right, if this were a year ago, I would say hang on and don't worry about it until maybe 6 months down the road. I think we're stuck.
We already said that
I know,
6 months ago.
we did. Gabe, what do you say?
You're just saying that you want to go ahead and work on getting this ready for the potential of the LD 2000
Yeah.
to go through
Mm-hmm,
versus waiting and hoping that it'll be
correct,
postponed.
right,
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
no, I'm
did.
good with that. That makes sense.
yeah, okay, all right, so we're all decided to move forward.
So, I do think though, and we can go at it methodically,
Mhm.
and, if there's some way we can avoid, some expense, the attorney and so forth, do that until last. But do it in time,
Mhm.
and we'll have to plan on that special town meeting before July 1st.
Yeah,
So there's gonna be 2 town meetings within
and
a
it's,
couple of weeks, right?
and it's unfortunately gonna be probably just a
Oh,
formality.
well, that's May,
The-
you said May 14th or something,
It's
so
May 16th.
16th, so that's almost 6 weeks, so.
Well, so, except that in order to, it has to get into the warrant, you have to back into dates
Yes.
to get it onto a warrant, it's not just, psh, it
Yeah,
has to go to the
How
attorney.
much notice to cancel the town meeting?
Cancel? We can't.
It's either
Because of the
24 or
law-
48 hours.
I only ask that because if there's this LD 214 and 665 are passed on June 25th, we'll say.
Well, but so
Could we-
March,
We
they have
wouldn't have a need for town meeting.
there's a March 13th deadline, and then there's like, he said there was like a week or so so I think we're gonna know.
Okay,
There's a March 13th meeting, let me see.
well,
Yeah.
the 13th was the deadline for comments,
Right, and then.
for the rules,
For
for
the-
the rulemaking.
for the rulemaking.
And I think that will, and then that will feed into where, and they have, I think he said he had a week or two for them to get through that before they make decisions.
We may not know until the middle of April.
But on each of these LDs, there'll be a public hearing, which haven't been scheduled yet. No, that's separate, that's completely separate from the rulemaking.
Right, he's talking about the other 2 proposals that are out there, one for the 2-year moratorium, the other one for 10,000 townspeople or not.
In
So
an
they're
ideal
separate. Yeah.
situation, we just have our regular town meeting and none of the ordinances are addressed. If this isn't ready, we still, because it just isn't, and then when we have to implement it, they're not gonna just flip a switch if they haven't given us time to evaluate what their rulemaking is and how to incorporate it, so, I mean, who knows, I don't know.
Oh, I agree,
No.
they just,
I think they will.
oh, they will.
I think they're gonna say, hey, we did this last April and we told you a year ago, so.
But they haven't had their meetings yet. I don't know, I agree, I mean, moving forward is, I think planning for it, whether we have to incorporate.
They just did this
I
at
think we
work,
do. I
Yeah,
think we do have to plan for it, but there, I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense for the legislature to think that we can go in advance of their rulemaking, their own state agency's rulemaking. I mean, that makes no sense at all. I mean, the mandate that we're supposed to be ahead of that. And so we haven't really been remiss in not taking
No.
action because the state hasn't
You're
made
right,
their rules and
you're
and there's
right,
been a lot of discussion about those rules and.
right. Absolutely, and when the meeting that we had last, when we looked, which was 2 weeks ago, because last week was canceled for snow, this rulemaking proposal, I think, was 5 days old. We had just gotten it, because I was talking to Max about it, and he said they haven't even sent it out yet. And then it came out 2 days later, and then I think we met 3 days after that, so it was super fresh and new. So yeah, we're not remiss in trying to get on top of this, because there was nothing to look at. So, all right, so we're in agreement that we move forward carefully and efficiently with our time and money. Right? Okay. All right, well, having that in mind, I took the language in this rulemaking proposal for just the definitions, because that's separated, it's in its own little pod, and I plugged it into the Word document of the definitions that are in our current ordinance. So the red letters that are underlined are the language from the rulemaking proposal, and the black is what's in our book. I didn't make any corrections, I didn't cross anything out, I just threw it in there so that we can look at it, discuss it, and see what we want to do. It's interesting that some of these are brand new and we didn't have them in there at all. And then others are more language of something that we did have already. One thing that I do know though is that I know that accessory dwelling unit is, I'm not saying it's right, but in the ordinance, in places when they talk about something, then underneath of it has like the definition of the term, and it didn't make it into the back of the definition book. And I meant to go through and search the document in Word to find those instances, but I didn't.
Well,
get
what you've
around
done
to it.
is wonderful, really.
Thank you, appreciate that.
It's a
So
lot of work.
I think we should keep that in mind, because I'm pretty sure accessory dwelling unit is defined inside of the ordinance. It's just not physically in the back of the book.
It wasn't as more important as it is
I
today.
know, exactly. And, yeah, exactly, I agree. But, I can do that, I will go through and search on those in the book and see what I can find. So I think some of these are gonna be easy to just plug it in the way that they have it. Because that's what they want.
yeah, I don't think there was many changes that we could make. I mean, it's,
No, I mean, so affordable housing development is not in the book at all, and I'm pretty sure that isn't, even though I know accessory unit is in there somewhere.
Like you mentioned before about, like you were saying about the ADUs, they have the minimum of 190 and then
Yep,
the max. That's not something we're figuring out right now, right?
we can, I mean, maybe not today.
Yeah,
No, I think it's a good thing to
But-
discuss.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to do a maximum square footage, and we did talk about that when we were talking with Max about it. It's, did you find it?
Yeah.
Look at you,
Where is it?
dwelling unit, where did you see accessory though?
It says it's more than one unit.
What page is that on?
It's the old book. I don't know, it's 31-ish.
about 30, page 30, Jim.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
But is it accessory?
More than one unit.
Right, is construction, I'm saying, the minimum lot size of frontage, yeah, but that's not a D, okay.
It's listed as accessory
Oh.
on the table of
Accessory
contents.
residential unit up here.
So where are you? Show me
It's on
the
page 31.
Of the old one,
31.
I don't know if it's close to that in the.
So,
Accessory
I put-
residential.
That's why my footnotes are,
Yeah, so 31.
So this one is for
which
single
footnote
lots.
is it?
She's got the old one. It's
Um,
not-
Oh, right here, number 9.
Okay.
I think that's what you guys are talking about.
It's number
For single lots with
Number.
multiple detached dwelling units, special standards for dwelling unit separation are imposed to create an equivalent of side setback. Is that, like, do they just say dwelling units?
Well, it says accessory dwelling up at the top, right under here.
So
An
that's
accessory residential unit is number 14 under,
up above B,
B.
okay.
14 above B.
Wait a minute, you're 14 says what now? What year
Oh,
is that?
temporary.
It's on.
Oh, I see, okay.
I don't think yours is, what year is that book?
It's green here.
No, is there a cover?
It's on my page too.
2016.
You got a 2016 book, we can't go by that, because here it says a temporary accessory residential unit. Not a,
That's what I
it's
have.
different.
Suzanne, do you wanna borrow my book for a minute?
This one's different than, you've got several, you've got Scott's old book, don't you?
No. Maybe. Who knows what I have?
Yeah, so it now says a temporary accessory residential unit.
So it's
That's
temporary.
page 32, okay. So that's a good reference. I'll go through and I'll search. I'll do the word search and see if I can find some
Well,
stuff.
it says under lot standards, it was lot standards for page 32.
Right? Okay, perfect.
Well, this is, like, it almost seems like in B2, it's just listing that it's accessory dwelling unit is just a dwelling unit.
Right,
Like, it's not necessarily a separate thing.
right, and then, those are the
It
spots
shall be
where we're
met
gonna
for
have,
each dwelling unit.
there are the spots where we're gonna have conflicts in the text that will be a problem later.
What would drive us crazy?
Will drive us crazy, yes, good point. Yep, okay.
So do we want to talk about what we might want to insert for a maximum size? The minimum size is 190 square feet.
How long do you guys want to be here tonight? Because, do we want to go through the definitions first and circle back?
Whatever.
Are you okay with that?
Sure.
I just want to not spend 3 hours on definitions. And then we can circle back on it.
So later. Okay.
Yep, I promised, we will do it. So affordable housing development is all brand new in here. The formatting in this thing is crazy going from one document to another, I will fix that later, but. If we go, area median income is brand new. The word attached is brand new.
The word what?
Attached. They define
Oh,
attached.
okay.
And then base density. Certificate of occupancy, I know that that's in here somewhere.
For business stuff.
Right.
Right.
So that was one of my questions. Does this mean now that for residential structure, we'll have to have an occupancy permit process?
I don't know where that comes up in here. It may be because it's a multi-unit. Maybe. I think if we searched in here, we'd find where it says certificate of occupancy. Because all of these terms have to be in this rulemaking proposal. I just haven't scoured it for those. You can look. Let's see. It's a great questions too for.
I mean, we could make the certificate of occupancy definition to say something like applies only in business and the other situations for, rather than for everything. Although I wouldn't be against a certificate of occupancy for all new structures. It would make,
Right.
John who usually sits over there, excuse me.
It's a bigger burden for the CEO, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping he'd be here today because I was interested in hearing his thought about that. But
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a bigger burden for the CEO, and it's not required by the state unless we have over, I think it's a certain number, it's like 2,000, 2,100 residents, something like that.
Yes, 2000.
oh,
So,
okay. But we have it as a requirement for business.
Business, yes.
But we're approaching there. We're at 1,800 and, I think, 60, not that far off from our 2,000 area.
Lock the doors.
Well, I think it would afford some, just not to beat this to death, but I think it would afford some protection for consumers.
It
You know,
would,
the new builders of residences, so.
it would, yeah, I can understand.
I think when you go with that 2,000, right, that's when you have to adopt a uniform
Yeah.
building code and all that stuff, right? When
Yeah.
they recommend it or.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten there yet, and the town has not wanted to adopt it. Anyway, so. Comprehensive plan, this one needs a little bit of work. It's, I think it says the same thing really though. Document or interrelated documents consistent with MS, it's the same section, maybe the new note is better than our old note, so I thought maybe we get rid of the old one.
Well, it references the old one, but also Title 38, Chapter 97, so it tells you where the,
Right.
but it still has the,
So I'm thinking it's more inclusive of the information that needs to be in there.
I think we could do a replacement there.
The name
I
replacement,
think it's still covered.
okay. We'll scribble out the old language and just put the new language in then. I'm with you. Density requirements is new. Designated growth area, that's, what we were talking about earlier on the map, that's new. Dimensional requirements is new, I know that one's in the book somewhere though. Talks about dimensional requirements.
Tell me again where, I'm sorry to slow you down,
No, you're fine.
but tell me again where this growth area would be. Yes.
So, the growth area on that map that you're looking at is the blue cross-hatched area,
And where did that come from?
the comp plan. So, and I
Is there
forgot, I
now
was-
current zoning in that area that calls it a growth area?
No, it's strictly in the comp plan. There's a section of the comp plan which has to describe the town's growth area. And so the state requires certain things to happen in that growth area.
But we're not tied into that specifically, that area, are we, at this point?
What do you mean?
As it,
No,
the designated growth area, as per this definition that we're working on, does not have to be these blue lined areas. I mean, it can be different than this. It's a word that
Yes.
we want to designate it, correct?
yes, it would have to be changed in the comp plan. The growth area is exactly where the current comp plan says it is. So right now, it's where 2005 says it is, so that's basically the blue hatched area. The comp plan could be changed when we revise it this summer to say that it's smaller or bigger or whatever the town wants to do.
I can already see a possible conflict there. Because we're going into the rural residential area on the north side of that blue cross-hatched area. And it's along where US Route 1, the four-lane US Route 1 is.
Which spot are you talking about?
I'm talking about the area between US Route 1 and the northeast corner of this line here.
That is US Route 1.
No, it's not.
That growth area goes right up against the highway.
The highway's right here.
Nope, that's state road. That.
State road is down here.
Yep, and then that other line is the power lines that you're pointing out.
This is the power line
Yeah.
here? Okay, so this is the state road. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It
See
should-
the old rest area?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay, good, all right.
tough because it's like colored, like it has a zone, and it's really the highway. It's strangely shaped.
Oh, okay.
The little
Yeah.
notches are the rest of the
Okay,
spots.
okay. So we've designated the highway as rural residential. Okay, that must have thrown me off. I see,
I
okay.
know, it would be
Because I was looking at
better if it was
where the
gray,
power
it
line
was
is, I was
nothing.
looking at that as Route 1,
Right.
but it's not, okay.
Nope,
Good.
so it's
No, I
really,
think that's good.
it's really highway down to the state road, and then I believe it's 250 feet south of State Road, which is all the business and commercial. So it's basically the business and commercial on
Yep.
State Road, south of State Road, all the way to the edge of the highway. And then the urban development park on the other side, which is where Wing Farm is. And then all along the river from the commercial along State Road in Bull Rock to the highway. And then up and beyond, almost to the school, or no, to the school, includes the school. You see where it goes up along the river, the highest point, that's the school, I
But
think.
the shoreline zone will be excluded, correct?
Yes, the shoreline zone is excluded, you cannot use the density inside the shoreline zone.
So there'd be just a tiny strip
Right,
there between New Meadows Road and the shoreline.
correct.
Hmm.
Say that again, so they can't be the shoreline zone.
You can't you can't put a house inside the shoreline zone using the density.
Under
You
this high
still can't
density
put a structure in the shoreline zone,
scheme.
just like you can't now, it's still excluded. The 75 feet.
Oh, okay, but it doesn't,
It has to be.
well, the
approved.
shoreline zone's 250.
It has to be approved within the 250, but it definitely can't go in the 75. The same as now.
So, say that again, I mean, it could be, just as long as it's 75 feet back,
Mhm.
you'd be okay, in the shoreline area.
I believe so. I believe so.
That's one of my questions though.
Unless,
Because I don't know how that, they do make a statement in there, how this does not apply to the area, and I think I just where it is.
let's make up some questions for next time we see Max, or I can email him a bunch of questions. And it might be on his list of questions actually when he asks the state, I don't know. Yeah, is it 75 feet or 250 feet? Okay. All right.
Well, I guess my thought is that we might want to tweak the blue shaded area a little bit. Yeah, we might want to look at the various neighborhoods and areas and see how there might be some conflicts, you know, with having high density uses in that area, especially along the New Meadows Road piece. So,
Up by the school, you mean,
yeah,
where it's not commercial?
and, yeah, yeah. But we just, at some point, I'd like to be able to revisit that and, you know,
It would probably have to be soon, because the comp plan is being rewritten.
yeah, okay.
The next meeting is next Monday for the comp.
I think that's the last meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before
The
the
last
review, before the final, before everyone sees the whole.
Right, but I think that you can still,
You
it's
may
not,
have-
it's not a done deal.
No, but
Right.
we've essentially discussed all the topics at that point, I believe.
Right, the sections, not
Yeah.
necessarily the maps, and we just did the land stuff, so. But, all right, let me see. Yeah, March 13th, 6 o'clock, it's a comp plan meeting. Next Monday. Oh, jeez. Yeah. So where were we? Oh, we're at dwelling unit. This is one that had duplication for the definitions.
So, if we, I know you want to charge ahead here.
No, we're gonna
Under
discuss it.
section 1, purpose and definitions on the second page,
Wait,
paragraph
where are you?
2, section 1, purpose and definitions
Oh,
on this rules.
oh, okay, yep.
And under paragraph, well, section A, purpose, paragraph 2, or section 2, paragraph C,
Mm-hmm.
it talks about the shoreline zoning requirements established by DEP pursuant to blah, blah, blah.
Right,
So it doesn't,
it's not very restrictive.
it's not really specific. The broad definition would be anywhere within 250 feet of water. But,
Right.
narrow interpretation would be different, so it would be less. But I don't think that does need to be better defined.
Or they're saying pursuant to Title 38, Chapter 3, which tells you that you can put dwellings from the 75 to 250, but it has to be approved. But you can't put dwellings from 0 to 75 from the shore. So it may just be the same overreaching rule.
So is that clear to you then?
No,
Okay.
but still on that.
It's not clear to me.
That's why I put a question on here for Max.
Okay, good, thank you.
Is it, how does it apply in the shoreland? Is 75 feet the number, or is it 250 feet that you can't have?
See, I
The actual
thought
density.
he indicated it was 250 feet when he was here, when he met with him.
I don't know.
When he was talking about, he says it doesn't apply in the shoreline area. I mean, this is what he said, I thought.
Right,
So that would mean to me 250 feet.
right.
But in looking at these rules and the law, I don't think it is clear,
No.
and it needs to be.
Did you guys hear anything different, or,
No, I just remember there was talk about the 75-foot zone, I think there was some confusion.
right, oh, I don't doubt it.
It didn't really make sense.
Page 34 in here has the temporary accessory residential units spelled out.
Nice job. Temporary accessory, oh, yeah,
This is a little detective over there.
I know.
You know,
All right,
trying to get
this is
reelected.
good.
What's,
Re-elected?
is that under section B? I mean, what,
No, she's on page 34.
oh,
Number
Page
12.
32,
okay.
page 34, all right. Does it actually?
Temporary accessory residential unit.
Oh, yeah, that's not probably the same thing.
Yeah, it's also saying it has to be a family member
Or a caregiver.
or caregiver.
Yeah, this is pretty much an apartment in your garage.
This
sort
is
of
something
thing.
that might be illuminated
Yeah.
when Max goes through the ordinance,
Mhm.
because this wouldn't even be necessary.
Or like or like a camper parked in your yard.
That's a temporary, that's not a permanent structure, is it?
But that's what this is saying,
This is
right?
temporary
Temporary
accessory.
accessories.
This, I think, is, it used to be called mother-in-law apartment.
Yeah,
Which it got
in-laws.
pulled up, an in-law, sorry, not mother-in-law, an in-law apartment. And it was basically that you could have an apartment above your garage or in a shed or something like that for someone who had to be a family member. But the whole thing was it was temporary, so it was,
Yeah, 5 years.
because people didn't want, you to start making a rental unit in your garage sort of thing. And so it became a temporary accessory residential unit, and after, they had to be approved to be in there, and there had to be a need and all kinds of stuff.
But you
And
can,
it's really kind of restrictive, but,
removing the kitchen turns it into a non-dwelling unit.
right, so you're not, if you can't cook, then it's not a dwelling unit. So I don't think that this is really talking about the same as an accessory dwelling unit, because an accessory dwelling unit can stay there forever. Whereas this thing is,
Yeah, this feels like it's written so that it has to be removed.
it is. It is. Which,
So,
I'm not saying I agree with, but it is. It was. You remember
But
that?
that in
was
theory will turn into the accessory unit. That could be automatically a permanent approval.
right, which would make this language, yeah, not necessary. So yeah, that's probably the spot
We could probably-
where he's gonna.
Right, get rid of 12, basically, right?
Right. Just never in agreement with that thing, but that's okay.
So you're saying they're gonna get rid of this because,
It can become a permanent unit.
Based on the new
now I get it.
rules,
I got you.
based on the new rules, if and when,
Someone could park an Airstream and that could be,
yes.
the accessory dwelling unit,
Yep,
not to be confused with a temporary accessory.
If the Airstream
Right.
is licensed and registered, it wouldn't even come under this.
It wouldn't,
Just
yeah.
continue as a trailer.
right, it would just be
Wouldn't-
something in your yard.
Wouldn't even come into play.
I think that's debatable though, Jim, because if you look in the ordinance,
Yeah. Yeah.
by the ordinance,
Yeah.
there's even a setback to boats, campers,
Yes,
even in the ordinance, there's
yeah.
a road setback and everything.
So there is that question, if a trailer is licensed and registered, then, registered, I should say, then,
I think, which is what we're saying, is these new accessory dwelling units will make this obsolete,
Yeah,
so that can just go away. It's not that we have to get rid of it, always would.
Well, unless someone hadn't applied for a permanent structure,
Yeah,
you have a caregiver.
right. Yeah, I mean, they have to apply for converting it over, just like you would something else. Absolutely. There's all kinds of
So-
crazy things in here.
is the next one, dimensional requirements? Am I looking at?
Nope, we're on dwelling unit.
Okay,
The dimensional requirements is brand new, so that's pretty, just,
yeah, that's
Plug it
pretty
in.
straightforward.
I was just really kind of worried about the ones that the book already has a definition, and they have a new definition, and do we just incorporate it or modify our original one? It's funny, this dwelling unit reads a little differently than our definition, like, talks about different. It's a better definition, actually.
In situations like this, does the new definition supersede ours?
Yeah.
Because we can't define
Right.
it further.
We can make it more strict.
We can, and so
Less
we could
No,
put,
no.
oh,
Isn't that what Max got said, less
he
restrictive?
wasn't, yeah, that was,
Why not say something like dwelling unit also shall mean any part of a structure, et cetera, in the red.
But does it?
I think we're safer putting their language first and then putting ours after that,
I
as
think
long
we-
as it doesn't contradict.
Well,
Right, I
yeah,
think it
that's what I
does.
think is, yeah,
I think we could just cross ours off.
right. I guess what I'm getting at is if we further define it and contradict what they're saying.
Right, we don't wanna do that.
Yeah, it's
We
just
don't wanna
better
do
just to,
I think we just gotta get rid of ours.
yeah.
One thing that he did mention with this though is that if an accessory unit is there, you can actually sell that off separately. So that may be something that you wanna incorporate that's more strict.
That they can't sell it?
If you build an accessory unit
Yeah.
on the same 3-acre parcel, you
Mhm.
should be able to say, okay, now I'm gonna sell that off. So your 3-acre parcel is no longer 3 acres, and now you've got 2 units on separate parcels.
so it's like a condo,
Yeah, I think that's what
It's
we're.
like a condo, yeah.
so the.
But it's
the
not,
main
but it's
dwelling-
not a condominium or multifamily. So you might say, I mean, that to me, from a real estate perspective, is, because all of a sudden you've just taken your 3-acre parcel and made it a non-conforming lot intentionally.
Well, it's not a non-conforming lot.
It is if you're in a 3-acre zone and you take off a half-acre. If you're in a 3-acre parcel,
No, you can't split the lot. They could sell the building,
but
and the
who's-
person owns the building but not the land, but you cannot split the lot.
Right,
Is that how it will work?
But how, I don't know. I would,
We'd have to figure that out.
I
But,
mean, that's a condo, right?
but it's not, is that in a multifamily area then? Because now a
So-
condo is a
so-
multifamily.
the subdivision that was done, Keith did his. They own the building, they don't own the land. There's an association that owns the land, they own the building, that's it. You could do that, I guess.
After the fact? If you were just a
Yeah.
single family, I mean, you'd have
Well, that's
to.
like a co-op.
Oh, it's a condo.
The
That's,
co-ops preceded
Yeah.
condos.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
No,
it's
cool.
all.
but that may be
True.
something that you wanna become less restrictive and accessory dwellings are all part of the same I mean, you can't, because I don't think the intent is to build it and sell it and build it, and just parcel out, or create a subdivision, or a multifamily complex, it's not.
This doesn't create subdivisions anymore. The weeds are thick.
They're very thick.
The weeds are thick.
But like Jamie said, I think the key is, I think we have to we have to adopt the state's language more so than anything else.
Yeah, so,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
is there something, if we have the state's language under dwelling unit first, is there anything in the original language that isn't in the state language that makes it more clear that we should keep?
Yeah, so it says one family at a time, so like we know that's not true, right?
Right, but right, so
Well, why don't you just
rural
get-
rooms designed and equipped exclusively for use as permanent, seasonal, or temporary living. I don't know why you would list all three accounts. Why would it? So you usually list something because you're trying to exclude something else, but if it's permanent, temporary, or seasonal, what's left?
It says recreational vehicles, RVs, are not considered part of this, so you're excluding RV as a dwelling unit.
Where are you seeing RV?
At the bottom.
The
Oh,
last
at the
sentence.
bottom, correct. But why all the words to say permanent, seasonal, or temporary?
Maybe because you have a temporary unit that does not, your temporary accessory residential unit versus a dwelling unit. Because over here, you, without the kitchen,
You have to say that again.
so you're, the mother-in-law unit,
Forget about the mother-in-law unit.
and that's what, I think that's why you're stipulating the difference in our original language, perhaps. I was not here when it was written.
Okay. So you wanna just get rid of the whole thing?
I think it eliminates a lot of confusion.
Containing cooking, sleeping, and toilet facilities, term shall. The only thing that,
We have to get rid of one family at a time, right?
absolutely, yeah, so this says intended for human habitation, so that means it's not a shed, which is basically what this says, contains cooking, sleeping, and toilet facilities. Term shall include mobile homes and rental units that contain cooking, sleeping, and toilet facilities regardless of the time period rented. Timeshare units and apartments. The state one does not include mobile homes and rental units, but doesn't need to. Because mobile homes and rental units are made for human habitation, so maybe it doesn't matter at all. I'm just trying to negative out to see if we can cross out all of what we had before. That none of it is really useful, it's all duplication.
So I guess the only thing would be the recreational vehicles are not residential dwelling units.
Or to leave that,
I don't know,
To leave that?
I don't like why, I don't know why that's even made, but I don't know. Maybe that's important to,
To leave,
I think like you said, Jim, I don't think we can really regulate it if it's registered. But then if you go back, I did find it in the ordinance, it says right in the ordinance, that setbacks apply to cars, trucks, RVs, trailers, boats, containers, and dumpsters.
right, you don't want to measure against property line.
that's just talking about setbacks though.
Yeah, that's just setback.
Setbacks.
And we don't have to change any part of that, I don't believe.
I think you're right. But why do they have a I guess like Gabe's saying, I guess somebody could live in an airstrip, right?
But then does it meet, if you're running another bedroom unit, does it meet your septic? I mean,
If it has a tank. The only difference would be, I mean,
if they're running it into, if they're draining into a septic and not, that sits there they're certainly not pumping it.
well, they could though, right? Like if they're just having it pumped consistently, like if they have a holding tank on the unit. I think the only thing that differentiates it is the tie downs and wheels. And if you put the tie downs on and take the wheels off, it's immediately a
Right.
dwelling unit, yeah.
We're gonna struggle with that one.
Yeah,
So shall we do away with the old,
I think
out with the old and in with the new?
I think the only thing we're unsure on is the recreational vehicles are not residential dwelling units, right? So we can cross out everything else. and we can discuss it further, or we can decide to cross it out. What's your pleasure? I don't know why it's important to say that a recreation vehicle is not a residential dwelling unit, because it can be. I mean, what's the difference between a camper and a trailer?
Right, so are we being more restrictive by saying that
Yeah,
it's not, if the new definition is not saying that it can't be a dwelling unit, are we being more restrictive by saying it can't be a dwelling unit?
yeah.
And we can't be more restrictive.
Well, we can always send it, or Max is gonna look at this too, and he'll say, oh, no, we can't have that in there.
Yeah,
They
right.
won't like that, so I mean, we can, if we're wavering, maybe not, we can leave it and see what he says.
Okay.
Or we can take it out, or, cause he deals with this
I
a lot,
can't-
he would have a better idea.
I can't picture the situation that would be required. I mean, that's a code enforcement issue, but I can't envision how that would be a problem to take it out altogether.
Right, I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree.
But, I mean, I haven't had experience with it either, so, but,
I would eliminate our whole definition.
Yeah.
okay, so we'll
Okay.
take it up for now.
Dave?
That's fine.
Alright, I'm getting rid of it. Let's see, there's nothing, the next one is land use ordinance, which has to be defined here somewhere. I'll look for that one. Lot. Oh, I'm so sorry, it's on 2 pages.
What the hell?
I know. Just rip the staple, look at it at the same time.
Next time it's printed on a scroll.
I know. Carson.
So right now, you have to be in a subdivision with the old one?
No, it's
Or
described
defined
in a
by,
deed or defined by
Okay.
boundary lines and recorded subdivision plan, which has been approved by the planning board, so.
I have no problem with eliminating the old one completely.
Yeah, cause the new one says the same thing, just not
Well, your legal
as many
instrument,
words.
your legal instrument is your subdivision plan.
Right.
Right.
I think that it's shorter and more precise. In my opinion, does anyone, see any of the old one that we should keep? No? Jim?
Yeah,
Gabe?
no, I don't see any reason to keep it.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
the only thing,
it's out of there.
What would they do? What would they do?
Alright, there we go. Alright, multi-family dwelling is new.
And that changed from 4 to 3, correct? Didn't their multifamily drop from 4 units to 3?
Yes, that is, I marked that up in here somewhere. That it needs to go to 3.
Yep.
I think that's in this one. But yeah, I have that marked up. So multifamily dwelling is new. I'll just stick that in there. Potable, talking about safe drinking water, that is new. Principal structure, we have an old definition, or I'm sorry, a current definition, and then the new state definition. Building or structure in which the main or primary use of the structure is conducted.
Which one do you want now?
Principal structure.
Principal structure, 6. Or,
Now, I think there's one that we're gonna, there's a board we may struggle with, but I can't think of anything better.
building other than one which is used for purposes wholly incidental or accessory to the use of another. So the original one's like a negative of the new one,
yeah,
right?
you could almost leave said, like, one's the positive, one's the negative.
Right. Our original is really hard to read.
Yeah.
Building a structure in which the main primary use of the structure is conducted.
I can't see as the, how that's gonna be an issue. And I think we'll be able to see which is the principal structure and which is the accessory.
Yeah.
Right,
Especially if we limit the size of the accessory.
yeah,
to,
okay, so
I don't know.
out with the old, or
Yeah.
out with the
Yeah.
current?
Yeah.
Out with the current, okay. So then we have a new one, which is restrictive covenant. Just put that one in there. We have setback requirements, and we have setback. So, they're very similar. Oh, and there should be a space between setback and shared driveway there, right underneath of it. No horizontal distance. So this talks about road, centerline, body of water, or wetland. The only thing,
Shoreline and wetland, same thing.
well, I think that's why ours is different. Because depending on who you're talking to, shoreline to them is the edge of the water, and not necessarily the edge of a wetland.
You have a shore on a wetland.
You have a wetland along the shore, but you can also have wetlands that aren't along the shore.
And you still have setbacks.
So, the only thing the new one doesn't have is wetland. And we do have setbacks from wetlands.
And the old says road centerline, and that isn't unique to our town, but it is.
It is.
You know, it's not, it's in some other towns that way, but
Mhm.
usually it's to the, you know,
Edge.
the edge of the right of way. You know, it's from
Right.
that.
Yes.
So I think that might be something to keep.
Well, it does say road. It says lot line, shoreline, or road. It doesn't say road center. It says road.
I think somewhere else though, we do say on the setbacks, doesn't it say to the center line?
Yeah, it does. It's very
So,
specific that all the road setbacks are to the center line, because we don't always know where it's not easy to figure out exactly where the property line is, so. Yeah, footnote 1, all setbacks are measured as a minimum horizontal distance, blah, blah, to the footprint of a structure. Where is it? Road setbacks shall be measured from the center of the traveled way. Setbacks
Which
approximately.
is that a footnote?
Footnote 1, it's like halfway down.
Oh, okay.
So I think if we,
It's the center of travel way,
yeah, it's center of traveled way,
not the center line of road,
correct.
but this says center line of road in the definition. So we're contradicting ourselves already.
Well, it says road setbacks should be measured from the center of the traveled way.
Right, we changed everything to traveled way instead of center line, because people are like, well, they aren't in the center, and seriously.
So we don't have to, I mean,
So
it's already-
basically, the center of the traveled way is, you know, edge to edge in the center, and then you measure out. There was a debate, as you can only imagine.
And we also talked somewhere, do we, under the footnotes about setbacks off in wetlands?
Well, so under, it says shore frontage, maybe you turn that to shoreline frontage, and then that gets your, which is right underneath that, and that gets you your wetland setback.
You're talking about the other definition, shore
So
frontage?
if you keep their definition,
Mm-hmm.
shore frontage, you could just turn it to shoreline frontage. And then you get what we remove the wetland from our setback falls into the shoreline frontage.
But that doesn't cover setbacks from the wetland.
But if you're, what you're describing, the shoreline,
Well,
which
sure.
would then would fall back up into your shoreline.
Oh, I
Right.
saw the inch is circular.
Right, and so then you get back what you removed, you get to
Yeah.
their definition, but then turn it into the shore frontage and shoreline.
Right below it also talks about
Yeah.
shore setback,
Shore
as far as
setback.
one distance, follow the lot or upland edge of wetland to the nearest part of structure.
Right, so maybe we don't need it in the wetland,
So-
the wetland in there.
Where does it say that?
So there's the shore frontage, it
In the
defines the
definitions?
frontage.
In the
The
definitions,
two beneath that.
there's like shore frontage and then shore setback,
I see, okay.
and it's talking about the upland edge of the wetland. Yeah, so it's covered,
Right.
I think.
So we
think-
can
I think
eliminate
it is.
our definition
Yeah.
of setback.
Okay, so
And
we can
use
take,
use what the state is proposing.
yeah, so
Is
we
that
can
correct?
take wetland out, we can leave it just road instead of road traveled way, because that's covered over here.
We have to add a shoreline to our our line, shoreline setback to our definition.
That's what you said.
Yeah, was it shoreline frontage or
Yeah.
shoreline setback?
Call it shoreline frontage.
Should also be shoreline setback.
We have shore setback right beneath that.
Right. I think we should add a line.
Right, if you call it shoreline frontage and the one above it,
Yep,
then your setback underneath it covers it from the,
Right, but that should be shoreline setback.
I think they both should be shoreline if we're gonna change it,
Right.
right, and then it's consistent. Holy cow.
Sure.
What are we doing? Sorry. This is great, I'm happy. All right, so then we're getting, and so, I'm so sorry, I put this thing in here in the wrong place, like shared driveway, I'll fix that. Shame on me. All right, so the original language for setback is disappearing, and it's becoming setback requirements instead.
Yeah.
And then it will go before shared driveway, 'cause it's in the wrong place. And then we're gonna add line to shore frontage, so it's shoreline frontage, and then line to shore setback, so it's shoreline setback. Yes?
Agreed.
Single family dwelling unit is new. Structure. Structure is next. The bottom of page 7. Anything temporarily or permanently located, built, constructed, or erected to support shelter and enclosure of persons.
So that it just removes the parking lot.
Yeah. Structure may be primary, 2 bedrooms, parking lot, 3 dimensions, such building which functions as. The only thing that bothers me about these references to MRS 436A12 or whatever is it doesn't really tell you what's in there. You've got to hunt that up to get a complete and exact definition. But I guess that's the definition of shelter or enclosure of persons.
but then it doesn't cover your parking lot.
Right, that's a problem. Because we need it to cover the parking lot.
Or maybe you have the structure and then a structure may be 2-dimensional, you just add to it.
Yeah, that's more inclusive
Yeah.
instead of restrictive, right? Or am I messing it up again?
It's just, it's
It's,
an extension of it, I don't think it's one way or the other, I think it's extending the,
Well, their definition
Right.
excludes it.
right,
So
Right,
we're
so we're
you're more
including it.
friendly,
We're
you're
Yeah,
letting the parking lot join the party.
yeah.
and again, if it's something that,
But we're having a setback to it, so I think we're more restricted.
well, so,
Oh.
436A, paragraph 12, means anything, structure means anything temporary or permanent located, built, construction, erected to support, etc. And kind of parallels what is already in our definition.
does it include a parking lot?
It, structure does not include, let's see, Construct, anything permanently located, built, construction, erected for sports, shelter, or enclosure of persons, animals, goods, or property of any kind, and anything constructed, erected on or in the ground. Stick that in
Honor,
there.
That's a structure.
honor in the ground,
Like
on
that's
the
it right
ground.
there. Yeah.
On or in the ground. Structure does not include fences, poles, wiring, other area equipment, service drops, guy wires, guy anchors, subsurface waste disposal systems, geothermal wells, wells or water wells.
Right,
So it does not say anything about driveways
okay. So
or parking lots.
the reason why the parking lot is there is because
It's the amount of space.
we have setbacks from structures and include a parking lot as a structure in that account, so that if you've got a 50-foot setback from the
So
wetland to the nearest structure, you know, you can't pave up to the edge of the wetland and then,
Right, but they're still, I think they're still defining it in that 36 MRS. They're saying anything on or in the ground.
right, but if we take these words out of here, such as a parking lot, people are gonna run right over us with,
But
well,
the
it
way,
doesn't say
the way this
parking
is
lot
set up
here.
right now, right, there's
Yeah.
a setback to a parking lot, right?
Mhm.
So the way this is set up right now, say American Steel or whoever, like say West Bath Market, right?
Yeah,
Then they would not be allowed to pave. There would be a gap between the right of way and where their property line starts. There would be a gap where they can start their parking lot.
right,
That's stupid.
But it says it doesn't include driveways in the setbacks. And under the footnotes,
but
it
that's
doesn't
what we
include
have, we have
driveways.
20-foot green space that's supposed to be around commercial stuff too.
So the entrance driveway
Is
would not
exempt.
be included,
Okay,
but then the
Yeah.
parking area once you're on the property
Okay.
would be.
all right.
And I think
Right.
it shouldn't be, it should be very clear in our ordinance that it includes parking areas.
Well, and
Yeah,
isn't a parking lot also determine the amount of the square footage you could utilize on your lot as well? That's part, that's,
the percentage.
right.
Yeah, the percentage.
So we could
That's
take the
different.
state definition and just add after it, this includes parking areas.
Yeah, 'cause I think,
This would
The way-
include two-dimensional such as a parking lot,
Period.
yeah.
period.
But in that LD 2003, right, there's some mention about parking too, right?
No, it just
No.
said, it said on or in the ground. Parking lot is on.
It says on the ground,
I think what Jerry's talking about is the amount of spaces per units sort of thing, which was less than the units. Like if you have 12 units, you only need
So-
6 parking spaces or 8 parking spaces, and that's what
That's,
it's talking
that's different.
about. Right, which is different than
yeah.
the structure. Yeah,
So we could, just as Suzanne suggested, we could
Yeah.
just add a little, a short sentence that this does include two-dimensional such as a parking lot.
okay. Because I agree that MRS, from what you just read, it includes a parking lot, but if we don't physically write it in here.
Right. They need to be able
It's
to
gonna
read.
get bad.
Well, that isn't what they meant, you know.
It doesn't say anywhere that it's a
It's a
parking
structure
lot.
may be, it doesn't say it has to be,
Well,
structure
we're not-
may
You'd be
be
looking at
primarily
MRS
two-dimensional.
436 all the time, and saying, see?
I don't think that's restrictive, it's a further definition,
I agree, it's inclusive.
it's clarification.
So do we leave the entire last sentence, or
No.
just,
Such as a parking lot, period.
so after the definition in the 38 MRS 436, you just wanna put
Maybe
such as a parking lot? Or,
Just add, the structure may be primarily two-dimensional such as a parking lot.
okay.
period.
All right, 'cause we know already that it's 3-dimensional like a building,
Correct.
that's pretty straightforward, okay. All right, perfect. I shall make that change. All right.
Oh, only one more red line.
Oh, is there a big gap? Oh, yeah, that's
Huge
right,
gap.
there was a big gap between the next ones. Then we can talk about square footage. Oh, we don't even have to deal with this because it's new anyway. Zoning ordinance, that's gotta be inside of our ordinance somewhere. Sorry, I didn't think to look those up until
So
I
I
got
think
here
that's
tonight.
fine, huh?
Yeah,
Great, thank
all right.
Excellent job.
you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It was just cut and paste, you're welcome. although word formatting aggravates me, so it's not really fun.
But see, that's something that I don't see as being an issue being adopted into the ordinance language.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, even if, honestly, even if this doesn't go through, this stuff should be in there. Really, most of it, except for the things that are very specific, like affordable housing development.
You could still put that in there, there's no harm in
Yeah,
having it.
that's true. That's true. Okay, maximum square feet, back to accessory dwelling unit. It must be a minimum of 190 square feet, we can't change that. But a maximum of, and this was.
So we have a maximum of 750 as a mobile home. I'm sorry, yes.
Where?
Where I see that. We had it. I just saw
You did a lot of homework.
Huh?
You did a lot of homework.
I love you guys.
Well, as you're looking at the right
Page
ordinance, I'm
34.
okay. How many of them
Not
got in
on
here?
You know what, I know where, I may look disorganized, but I know where everything is.
You got like 2 or 3 different copies there, don't you?
Hold on.
So which paragraph?
Very first sentence of a minimum width of 14 and a maximum floor area of 750 at the top of page 34.
Oh, yep.
Scary.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I got
Yeah.
it.
So do you
What,
want to,
what on earth is that? What's before it? Wait.
Mobile
Oh, mobile homes shall be defined and treated as single-family dwellings, should comply. Building permit shall not be issued unless it has to be,
Could we just, instead of like saying side, could we just say in relationship to the principal structure? So it can't, the accessory dwelling just can't be bigger than, or within a certain size of the original structure?
you could do like a percentage, you mean?
Yeah, because otherwise it feels like almost a loophole where someone could build a bigger accessory dwelling.
but see, but if you have, let's say you have a 1,500 square foot house,
Right.
then you want your child to have a 1,500 square foot house, if you say it's a percentage, then they only get.
Well, then, yeah, then maybe just not bigger than the primary structure.
You gotta exceed primary structure square footage. Up to,
I mean,
Or you could even say,
we can do whatever we want, and then see if the town will agree to it.
maybe the footprint? Or-
Yeah, you wanna make sure it's the footprint.
because this has a minimum width of 14 feet. So if you look at, I mean, what they're looking, so you can't go skinny, so you've got, if you look at the boundaries they've set for a mobile home.
I don't think I like that, because if you're trying to do a tiny house, they're like 10 feet. But that's a worm for another day.
I think just square footage is what you want, I don't think I would look at the width.
See,
But
Just saying that it'll be the
right,
no bigger square footage than the primary dwelling.
or maybe say, and not to exceed.
yeah, so we could do a couple different ways, we could pick just
A number.
a number, or we could pick your percentage based on the, if you pick a number, that's just a flat number. And that would be the footprint, square footage, not 2 floors, because sometimes people think
Not
that
just
it's 2
two
floors.
floors.
So if it's 3,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet times 2 floors, you know, you wanna pick a footprint, so just 1 floor of square footage. Or we could pick a percentage of the original principal dwelling square footage.
But if you have a small dwelling, you're making a really small dwelling then.
Well, you could just,
It's an accessory unit, it's not.
But if you wanted a child to have a family next to you,
then could it just be square footage and volume? Like it just has to match? I mean, that's kind of what
Do you
we have
wanna-
now, right?
In the
Right,
shoreline area,
in the shoreline,
maybe to
it's,
30%.
Right.
but the state's trying to move away from the volume as far as that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Their new rules don't have volume, they just have square footage. It's just not something that we've adopted yet, because we haven't been able to change our ordinances. So they're really sticking with just square footage, not square footage and volume. So you might not wanna go all that way.
you could say X amount of square feet and not exceed the square footage of the initial structure, or the main structure, primary dwelling, or whatever the.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get stuck on numbers, what's the goal? So,
Because I'm thinking if someone has a big piece of land and a big
Yeah.
house, they shouldn't be confined by a flat number.
right,
Like, they should be able to build, you know, a second bigger house.
right,
But
so
at the
let's,
same
yeah,
time, you know, I wouldn't want someone who's like an in-between lot size all of a sudden able to build something that's bigger than the primary residence. That seems silly to me.
so they move into the other one and the.
Yeah.
But this is supposed to be an accessory dwelling.
Yeah, it's not the primary structure.
Right, it's not
The purpose is not
So-
to exceed.
Yeah.
the structure.
So we could use a percent of floor area and a maximum size. I mean, that's, we already say here, a minimum area of 750 square feet, but we're not tied into that number for any reason.
Or you could do both without, you know, a percentage or
750,
square footage not to exceed whatever.
750 square feet is about 27 feet square. So,
Which is not really very big.
It's not that big.
no. But it's an accessory dwelling.
Right.
Too.
Right. Hey, my dad's place is 28 square, so that's why I know we have this. It's good for two people,
I mean, that's, yeah, that's, you know.
one person, two people, that's about it.
Yeah. We're 600. It's good for two.
Yeah, I mean,
With no visitors.
Well,
yeah.
that's what the accessory dwelling is,
Yeah.
great, for the visitors.
But so if we have a scenario where we've got someone who comes in and they wanna put another building next door, they're restricted by shoreline, obviously, and then setbacks from the road and from the property, right? And then they can't be on top of their well, they can't be on top of their septic, they can't be on their driveway. So to have any sort of large area accessory unit, you've gotta have a big lot, presumably, right? So all those things are in place to keep it from being right up against the neighbors and on top of the driveway and right on top of the road. So we have those sort of protections. So it makes sense its accessory is gonna be smaller than what they already have. Cause you don't want, I don't know, do we care? If I've got a teeny little house and I've got like this big lot and I really wanna build a bigger house and move into my bigger house and that becomes my primary and this becomes my accessory, is that against the rules?
No.
You know, how much do we wanna restrict?
Right.
What-
Maybe you
what
start
we're
with
doing.
one, or, I mean, it's,
What if we said, shall not exceed 75% of the existing dwelling or 900 square feet, whichever is less.
Yeah, so 900 is 30 by 30.
And 24 by 36 ranch is 864, so 24 by
Okay.
36
Yeah.
or cape ranch, whatever. I suppose if it was a cape, it'd be
Would
spaced
you-
up in the upstairs, but.
but if you say 75%, if you have a smaller house, the 900 square feet won't ever get there.
Correct. So then people are gonna come in and ask us, well, I want a bigger house that's really bigger. And then my accessory, my dwelling, my existing house will become the accessory. You know, we're gonna get into that.
What if you did 75% of your dwelling or a certain square footage, or
Whichever is
whichever
greater.
is greater?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think versus limiting.
Well, the maximum allowed,
Would be 75% of your current home or a square footage, whichever is greater.
Like 900 square feet or 75% of your dwelling. If 900 is bigger, you get to choose 900 versus,
Yeah.
right?
that would mean then,
You're still
Oh, I
not,
see.
We do the math on that, so, yeah, so 900, I mean, whatever number that is, or 75%.
doing the same thing, I'm getting my calculator out.
So say you've got a 2,000 square foot house, 75% of that is 1,500, so you can do 1,500, but you're still less than your original dwelling.
Or you go to 900.
Or you only have, how big did you say yours was?
600.
600, so
You
he
can
can
go
go
to
to
900.
900.
Or 75% of
or
setback,
75% of his,
whichever's greater, instead of whichever's less,
600
whichever's
house.
greater.
Well, then you gotta worry about well, I guess that's shoreline.
And setback, you still have to meet all of the,
Yeah,
so then, in his scenario, his is bigger than his original one now. But if it fits on the lot,
it shouldn't matter.
Right.
do
Wouldn't that be
we,
okay? And that would allow the,
I
As long
mean,
as it sits on the lot and it meets the,
If it meets all the
all the
setbacks,
requirements, then,
that would allow the flip-flop for people
Yeah.
who live in the larger house.
yeah,
right,
I don't think you should penalize if they wanna upscale
no,
their
Right.
It'd
living.
still be limited
But
to
you can
900
still
square
limit
feet.
it. Or 75% of the structure, whichever's greater. I think it,
Let's try that, let's see how that,
no, so, right, so what's 75% of 600? Sorry, we're using you as an example
no,
here.
it's great.
450.
forward, yeah, forward.
So your option would be
Right.
450 or 900. So your option is either 400.
You can
square
double your 75%, or have a closet.
Yeah, we could use a closet.
but we wouldn't be 75%. I mean, if you want to build a 900, you could.
But see, yeah, so you should,
It's
yeah,
an or.
either or, I like that.
Is 900 the number that you want to use?
We could just make it a flat 1,000.
Or 75%.
Yeah, I mean, I like the 75%,
Yeah,
but is 900 the number? I mean,
I think,
I only use that because it's a little bigger than the 24 by
Yeah, I think
36.
it's
So
1,000.
it's just, it's totally random.
right,
1,000's still pretty small.
it
So
is.
2,400 square foot house gets you 1,800 square feet, or 1,000, which is,
Right, and it still has to fit.
right,
So-
they can't, right, but you can always go up
So 25 by
to be,
40.
you know.
Only to 35 though.
Right, but you can, but I'm just saying, you can go, if you can't go out, you can do 2 stories, which is okay, 2 stories is still okay.
And when we say that,
20
this is footprint, right?
Yes,
900 square feet of footprint.
Yeah, unless you wanted to make it total, that's
Well,
really
I think we have to
small.
do whatever this 190 is, right? Whatever
that's a
that
minimum of 190
one. But what, that's square feet,
square feet,
and so like that's
that's a
theoretically,
minimum size, you can't go smaller.
and that's measured in,
Didn't we ask him that?
we have to stay
I thought he answered
the same with whatever that 190 is. If that's footprint, square feet of footprint, or
Yeah.
2 story, you know, or total square feet.
Didn't,
But we should include that in the definition.
Well, that's, we should,
So
yeah,
all we have to do is say total area.
there must be, like, whatever this 190 is, we have to do the same, right? With what,
Yeah.
with our max. And that must be defined somewhere.
the minimum is 190.
So the max, accessory
It
building
doesn't
must be a
say,
min-
it just says a
a
minimum of 190
190.
square feet. So that means,
you can't go smaller than that, and make it a dwelling,
right,
which is like 14 by 14 is 196.
Yeah.
so if that was in 2 stories or a loft, something, that would have to be all included.
Yeah, that has to be just 1 story.
Stairs would take up the whole.
Yeah, the stair, yeah.
It's a pull-down staircase,
So there's a pole in the middle,
spirals
goes
up.
up.
So all we have to say is a total area of minimum 190 square feet or maximum of, and if we used 1,000, that's 25 by 40.
It's pretty big.
So that's a pretty good size
Or,
accessory.
or
dwelling.
75% of your primary, of the
Yeah,
primary dwelling, whichever's
Whichever's-
larger,
greater.
And it's footprint.
yes.
It's footprint or total square foot.
Total square, must be square feet,
I think it's footprint.
this is square feet, 190 square feet.
Right, but footprint is the shape on the ground.
Right.
It has
So-
nothing to do with how many levels you have.
So
So
you could have
footprint is
3 or
just
4
the
stories?
square, or rectangle, or whatever.
You would have 3 or 4 stories and
We have a
25 by
height
40?
limit though.
You get the height limit of 35.
3 stories?
We could make it 2 stories, you could, I don't know, let you do that, but.
I mean, this is an accessory unit.
Well, it may be, it could become the primary unit, leaving the other one as accessory. That's what you have to kind of,
I don't know, it doesn't say in here one way or the other, does it? I didn't see
you're
anything.
creating an accessory unit after the build, what the primary accessory is.
It's a great question for Max.
Look at that, so much fun with this.
Well, it does, like, it establishes means a self-contained dwelling unit within, attached, or detached from a single-family dwelling unit located on the same parcel. So it's like defining the original part, the original building as the original building, and the accessory dwelling is the second one after that.
Right.
But it doesn't say what size it is, can it be bigger, can it be smaller?
Right, but it has to be that second building, so that's establishing the first building, so you can't just switch it and make the other one the accessory dwelling, because you're building the accessory dwelling.
But it won't matter which one you occupy in theory.
No,
Right, afterwards you can move out of one and into the other, and who's
Right.
gonna know, or,
It doesn't say, there's no stipulation on how it's utilized
right,
once it's built.
exactly, so it could be swapped. and-
But I don't think we should just use footprint, because
No.
it just opens up,
Okay,
you know,
Because I-
for us for abuse, you know.
so I think the 130 is footprint, even
The
though it doesn't
190?
say, the 190, sorry, the 190, I think is footprint.
It doesn't, it just says minimum 190 square feet,
Right? There's a question from
which would
Max.
probably be the same as the footprint, because 100, I mean, it's not that
It's very
14 by
tiny.
15 or something.
Yeah.
But you could say 75% of the initial dwelling and footprint. So your footprint can't go,
No, it's either, you're either, so the 30% expansion, when they do that, it's total square feet. So if you're 1,000 square foot footprint and you have 2 stories, then you're really 2,000 square feet.
yep,
If you're talking footprint, then you're 1,000 square feet. So it has to be defined whether it's one way or the other.
but if you say
We're
it's
gonna
you
use-
say 1,000 square feet or 75% of the original structure, doesn't matter how you spend that, single story or 2-story, does it?
But I think what Jim is saying is that we need to define that it's footprint or not footprint.
I think in other areas of the ordinance, we use total area
Right.
rather than just footprint. Now, as far as the 190 square feet goes, I don't think we have to say that's footprint or not. I mean, it's only 190 square feet.
Right.
But on the maximum size, the idea is to limit it to a certain maximum size, not to have multiple stories and so forth. You know.
Why?
well, I
Because
think,
it's an accessory, it's supposed to be an accessory, it's not supposed to be a huge, you know,
You've limited the
Mansion.
capacity of it to exceed, it's either 1,000 square feet or 75% of the initial dwelling. You're not gonna,
I think if you use footprint, there's less gray area for people to mess around. Like if it's footprint, you're just measuring the outside corner to corner, and that's what it is. If it's square footage, then you're gonna get into vaulted spaces, what's considered. You could have areas that are open to the outside that are not considered square footage, but that could be closed in later, so there's ways to cheat it.
Right,
you know what I
porches
mean?
and things, you mean?
yeah, we get that now, on the shoreline.
Now,
You get
yeah,
that now.
nobody cheats.
Screened-in areas aren't considered part of the volume.
Right.
Carly's got a question.
So when you're saying 75%, is that 75% of the volume of the original building or the footprint?
We're trying to
We're
figure
trying to
that out.
Square footage.
Not-
Well, I know you're talking about the 1,000, but the 75% you're figuring that out too.
Yeah, well, I don't think we ever meant volume, it was, I was always thinking footprint.
Okay.
And it would be 75% of the footprint or 1,000 square feet. So if you had 1,000 square foot footprint building, 75% of that would be 750 square feet.
Well, it could be.
It was never volume.
It could be $2,000 if it's 2 stories then, a square foot.
If the 1,000 square feet is footprint, yes. We could do
See, I
2
think that
stories, we
would
do 3
push us.
stories, but,
Pushes way beyond what's intended as an accessory dwelling. I mean, this is supposed to be
right,
ancillary to the main dwelling.
right. I mean, you wanna limit floors, you
So I
wanna,
think like the accessory dwelling, if anything, is probably made for like older people, so right, which would be one level.
Or people trying to supplement income.
right, you know, you got a rental next door because your son
Wants to live next to his mother.
wants to live next to his father for the rest of his life. And,
Good for
and he
you.
has eight buddies that are gonna move in, so,
We'll be a late night party.
I don't know, I'm all about making sure that,
It's gonna, the
Neighbors
setbacks
are
are gonna
happy,
limit it
but-
anyways, you know?
yeah, I mean, putting huge limits on what people do on their land is just not my thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but don't forget, the more bedrooms they have, the bigger the septic has to be, there's more things that are gonna
There's all kinds of stuff
trickle
that will
into
limit
what's
it.
gonna make that
Right.
less financially attractive.
20 by 16 room, that's a playroom, that's not a bedroom.
It's a media room.
Yeah, it's a media room, right? The,